But the big thing is now you guarantee that Olaf, and they don't have that counter pick in the Trundle, as well as you're not going to have the same kind of peel in the front-to-back team fight with that missing.
And this draft so far feels like early eStars again. The Olaf first pick was what got them set up right in the first place.
You know what I just realized, though? And actually, it might have been open every game, but I want to see if either player is going to go towards that signature Thresh in this last, you know, and what could potentially, I should say, be the last game.
We could see Missing go for the Thresh here. It's something he's played a lot in the past.
Even
or
ShiauC.
ShiauC can get it on the next rotation. Kalista has been banned for the rest of the series, though, with Renekton taken off the board by eStar. Means Jiumeng can take that Kalista.
And now, eStar, it's kind of a bad choice because you can either try and take away the Taric, which we know is paired well with the Kalista, or if you take the Taric, though, they're just going to take the Thresh.
Which also pairs incredibly well with the Kalista.
Exactly. So I love this setup coming out from WE, and there goes eStar with that LeBlanc like you talked about.
It's something that Teacherma has wanted banned away pretty much every game. It's one of the highest ban rate champions from WE. We'll see how Cryin's going to be able to impact the game now with a little bit more agency in the mid lane.
What I want to see is, do WE pick up their support here with something that pairs with Kalista, or do they say, oh my god, they have LeBlanc, we need to take something like the Galio, because Teacherma's pool might not have that many champions that feel comfortable laning against this. The Syndra is gone. Does Teacherma have something new to show us?
That'll be the question. I think they do. I think they've got more up their sleeves, and I think getting this support pick might be valuable enough to WE to take precedent here.
Ooh,
they're not going for the Thresh. They're not going for the Taric. They're going for Nautilus.
I actually really would like the Taric into eStar comp as well with LeBlanc and Olaf jumping in. Sure, there's some burst, so maybe they can whittle you down before the ultimate comes out, but...
Hang on. I think WE needs to ban Taric now at this point because... Oh, unless this is a Nautilus mid.
Ooh, you're right. This could... It even goes back to what Dagda was saying, where WE are a more extreme version of FPX. That would be very fitting for them to use this as a flex.
Because if you can then also take that Taric... Because bear in mind, Taric Olaf is terrifying. You really don't want to play against that. ShiauC loves the Taric just like he loves that Thresh. I mean, I'm just saying that there's a chance that this is Nautilus mid. This is just a bait and switch.
Though, if it was, like, I wouldn't expect them to pick support on 4. You would think they want to keep that flex option open and just go towards jungle next, wait and see what eStar do, and then last pick your support, right?
Potentially. I mean, especially if both Thresh and Taric are open, then there's definitely space there. But let's leave that theory crafting until we know a little bit more. Mordekai's are going to be banned away off the table, as well as this Maokai, 2 of Xiaobai's most played picks.
And we see so many gone already. Actually looks like they're trying to force him onto something like the Ornn. Renekton gone as well, banned by eStar, so... But as long as you have any weak side top laner, I don't feel like Xiaobai really cares, right? As long as you have something like the Ornn, you're okay.
Yeah, Xiaobai's quite happy to just play safe, play defensive up in the top side. 2 mid lane bans come out from eStar. Now WE. We'll see what they're going to go for Beishang in the jungle here, or whether they reveal the flex, but I think you're absolutely right that they want to go for a jungler first.
And we have seen Beishang pick up some of these AD carries quite a few times. Has played the Kindred 3 times, played the Graves twice. So they just want to add more DPS to their composition, would be quite good.
Worth bringing up, though, last time Beishang played this Kindred, it was against OMG. It was in game number 1, and it really didn't look so hot.
Like in the very early stages of the game, though, they were able to find some kills onto Curse, so was panning out pretty well, but had some missteps in the mid game. Still, though, Beishang having the confidence to take it.
I've just had a thought as well. They banned the Mordekaiser, and that was what really gave Beishang such a hard time on this Kindred. So I think this draft is literally based around that OMG game.
You know, though, if going back to WE, like if they do go to Nautilus mid, they're going to be extremely AD heavy. So it does feel like, oh, but they're still going to do it anyway.
They're doing it. Missing gets a blitz. They still don't go for the Taric, by the way, which was kind of what that theory came from in the first place. But Missing going with the hook champ. ShiauC has his signature Thresh, though. This bottom lane is going to be spicy.
Yeah, so WE's comp is extremely about finding these brawls, and you need team fights to really translate that into, you know, things like turrets. You can still go on neutral objectives because you have the Kalista, but we're definitely going to see a lot of scrapping coming out from WE this game.
Which is what we expect just about every game. It's what we saw in game number 1. Game 2 a little bit slower. But this time around, with the Nautilus in the mid lane, you expect a lot of roaming. What do we expect from eStar, though, to answer for this early roaming?
So, eStar, we want to see the early mid-jungle duo coming out. Olaf, LeBlanc, extremely strong in those 2v2s. You already mentioned how Kindred wants to kind of get a few levels under and scale up. Not that early game champion. So, that's where we want to see eStar look. Scaling this time around might actually be eStar favored. You have the Ornn, they're all AD, so you just keep stacking armor items, and the formation this time is in your favor.
The question is, do we ever see that late game, though? Because if we're going back to WE's original style, they don't play late game. They finish things way earlier than that. They are looking to get a lead and just hammer that lead home. We'll see if they're going to be able to make that happen, though, because eStar, they're going to be against the ropes right here. And we need to see them pulling deep here. We need to see ShiauC leading with the experience that he has on his signature pick of Thresh. I feel like if a draft can work for eStar, this has to be it.
You're right, and even... Gotta give space for those Gios. But a lot of signature picks across the board, right? Especially for Cryin, should feel should feel extremely confident on a champion that he picked up a pentakill on in this last matchup.
Yeah. And
they're even going to have the ability to get sideline control later on with the LeBlanc. A lot of pick potential coming out. Ooh, I like this.
WE, they want to make something happen, but they're all on awards, so eStar not going to play into this in any way. They're also going to know that WE are on the way out. I don't think WE are aware that this vision is available.
But even if you can't find picks, splitting the map does seem like it favors WE. You're going to have a lot of pressure on that bot side. You don't care if Morgan's left on an island, right? He's still going to be that tank that he's been in the previous games. And Wink and ShiauC are going to feel so much pressure. Ooh, Cryin. Oh.
I'm amazed he got away with that. I'm amazed he was even willing to check that. I guess WE playing around the potential that they were spotted. The sweeper not going to grab that ward, though. Either way, red buff is going to go their way, and we are going to see this map split, as you said.
And it looks like Wink is trying to push the wave, but ShiauC standing back, you'd assume he has the lantern if necessary. Oh, no, they just pulled the wave.
And immediately, we have to see huge amounts of respect given over to Missing on this Blitzcrank. The guy, his name is kind of an oxymoron because he does not miss these hooks. He's going to go for it straight away. Wink, in the meantime, getting the Ren stacked on up. ShiauC now the target of Jiumeng. It's going to be a trade, I guess, slightly in favor of WE, but pretty even, realistically.
Yep, I'd still say slightly in favor. Still good job by WE trying to zone them out, but ooh, nice.
And it's worth mentioning here that Wink now on the Varus. It's been on Jiumeng both other games in the series. Level 2 though, flash forward, hook blocked by ShiauC. Ren comes in, there's a Pierce. 2v2 kills in the bottom lane.
And they've been struggling in lane all game. Very proactive play coming up from Missing, but I just love Jiumeng feeling good to follow that up with the flash.
And Missing on an active champion. Morgan now feeling it in the top lane as well.
And we've seen Missing on the Blitzcrank only once before, but looked very good on it that time too. Just things with hooks really panning out for this champion. Him and ShiauC, very similar types of players in that regard.
Yeah, they really are. And you can see there, the flame from ShiauC, just a second too late. The flash knockup still came through from Missing.
Morgan going to get this push in the top lane, so the wave will bounce back. Beishang hovering for Teacherma. Looks like they're just going to be able to pick up that topside scuttle. But Mark on the other side of the map feels bad.
I love how we've seen literally no Nautilus, aside from like 1 or 2 games, the entire split. Then as soon as we get to playoffs, this signature LPL pick that Do&B brought to the world stage last year comes straight back out into the forefront.
And it's so great. You know, LeBlanc doesn't really have the assassination potential on you. You are very tanky. You have that aftershock if you need. And you're just going to be able to constantly try and push these waves out with your E, just like we see him doing, which enables that WE playstyle that we talked a lot about but haven't really seen yet in this series.
And, you know, the more I think about it, the more this makes sense as a pick for Teacherma, because he's happy to go for picks like the Galio that don't really have much kill threat by yourself on your own, but when it comes to playing around the team, which is what Teacherma, the bro mid himself, loves to do, it works out wonderfully. Morgan taking a heavy trade in the top lane. Wei's going to be hanging around, but Beishang's here too, and he's got his mark onto Wei's head. Morgan forced to flash.
Yeah, so good job by eStar getting that from them. Not too big of a deal for WE. You still want to see everything go towards the bot lane, but actually Teacherma's making his way up.
Here we go. We've got a play on our hands. Wei needs to be...
Ooh.
Oh, Teacherma not quite in range of that one. Valiant effort, but it is going to mean that now this whole play kind of just falls apart.
I mean, the good thing, though, is you don't lose anything for making that, right? He already had push in the mid lane, doesn't give anything up from that, still gets back, still catches the wave, still gets XP. And when you draft the Blitzcrank, the focus of the map is a lot more about the bottom lane anyway.
Oh, recall going to be cancelled here from Morgan. Wei is holding the wave.
Ooh.
Teleport now coming through as well. Morgan desperately trying to clear some minions. Haymaker comes on out. Cryin gets out with a flash. Very nicely dived by eStar.
Yeah, good team play to find an advantage somewhere on the map from Cryin, but still gonna lose that wave in the mid lane, gonna lose some experience. And Teacherma, I was gonna say, might even be able to pick up a plate, but there we go.
And in the meantime as well, Dragon's up and Beishang, WE in general, we know how much they love to focus on these Dragons. With the early kill that went down in the bottom lane as well, you'd expect them to have pretty much permanent push priority in the bottom side. So now, eStar at least answer somewhere on the map a little bit. They're not going to be completely falling behind in this early game. The question for me is, where do we see WE pressuring next? Because, or do we see WE pressuring? Are they just going to play this on slow?
They can try and find a gank in the bot side, or if you can't get... Ooh.
Oh.
Nope, nothing happens. I was excited, but if nothing happens, it is just about making that swap for Herald. You've already pointed out that they've pushed in bot lane, they've pushed in mid, they have the comp that wants to accelerate the game, so they should be the team swapping first.
We've got a 1v1 here, but it's going to turn into a 2v1 very shortly. Facebreaker with a Haymaker. Can Morgan actually pull this one off? One more auto, but it's a flash from Wei. He barely survives, and the Bellows Breath gets the kill.
I mean, eStar have to commit 3 members to that. You still get a summoner, but still, Morgan going to miss out on so much gold and XP. And WE not able to find anything on the bot side.
Yeah, Beishang doesn't even get the big crook for himself. But you can see Teacherma moving on down, has that depth charge available. Missing with the Hex Splash over the wall. They're just going to be able to shove this wave in, grab themselves a couple of plays.
And actually, Jiumeng is just holding the wave there, so Wink and ShiauC are losing a bit, and they're able to pick up a red buff, so...
Oh, it's actually completely frozen. They don't even have a big wave.
Yeah.
Jiumeng can hold that as long as he wants. Now everyone into the mid lane. Cryin knows he has to get on out of dodge.
The thing, though, is now that Missing showing mid, eStar's bot lane feels confident walking up and breaking that freeze. But it's almost 8 minutes. Eyes are going to be on the Herald. You have complete advantage of top side, so even eStar feel confident going for that.
eStar going to be recalling in the bottom lane. You can see Wink and ShiauC heading back to base, and you'd expect them to move up towards that Herald now. And WE, with no dragon on the board, you'd expect some kind of response at least.
Yeah, again, their bot lane has been the one that's controlled this wave the whole time. They're going to be able to push this out. They're going to be able to get this reset now. And eStar actually not even heading towards the Herald, not even sending ShiauC to Shadow for it. So if WE want it, it should be theirs. And we do see pings coming in.
We do see pings, and actually, the bottom lane for eStar do go back to the bottom lane themselves. And actually, this does make sense, because when we were talking about the win conditions earlier on, it is eStar that have an inherent scaling advantage due to the fact that they've got this Varus, more to the fact that they've got this Ornn, and they can just build tons of armor against this full AD composition.
And the big question mark is going to be Beishang with his marks, because you have a double AD carry comp with a very good front line. So late game team fights.
Oh, Cryin gets caught. Double hook, depth charge, Ignite goes down. Missing with the kill.
And now Herald is guaranteed. WE might even just be able to pick this up, turn towards mid, drop it, and open up the map early.
You know what? You are never safe. Even as a LeBlanc, you're not safe against this double hook composition. It's so difficult to escape them.
Going back to my last point, though, WE's comp in the late game isn't even necessarily bad. They have a lot of consistent damage coming out from double 80 carries. The question, though, is will they be able to kill Wei, Xiaobai, even ShiauC to a much, much, much lesser degree, you know, if they do start stacking armor?
That'll be the big question. And one of the issues of Kalista, obviously, is that the upfront damage isn't necessarily that high. Over a long, drawn-out fight, with the fact that you can pop off the rend, it's massive. You can see the replay of Cryin just having a miserable time there in the mid lane.
Another thing I actually like about WE's comp is a lot is on Cryin's shoulders to come in with the flank and burst out Beishang or Jiumeng. But you do have that Lamb's Respite at pretty much all times. Jiumeng very mobile on this Kalista, able to jump around quite easily. So Cryi's job is not an easy one.
And I love the adaptation here of wanting to bring the Kindred back into the fold, but deciding if you're going to do that, now we have to ban that Mordekaiser, because that was exactly why we saw Beishang struggling against OMG, consistently getting pulled into the Death Realm and out of his Lamb's Respite.
Yep, so there is always options like that available. If ShiauC can, you know, land some kind of like killer death sentence into play, knocking, I guess that's only single target, so it's not as, you know, massive of a play, would still be cool to see.
Would still be a big old CC chain there, and that's what they're going to need if they want to stop him going invincible. Bear in mind, though, Kindred, you can pretty much one-shot him. If you've got just the hook there, LeBlanc will pop him. Cryin will be able to get that damage down before the Lamb's Respite. But now, everyone grouping because Dragon's about to spawn. WE with control of this bottom side of the map, away, deciding it's time to move over top. He realizes this is not a fight he wants to contest, and Morgan's in trouble instead. Flashes away from the knockup.
Ooh.
There's a hook, though. ShiauC comes in. Morgan with the haymaker there, doing a lot of damage. 4 men committed for this play.
Yeah, and WE, I'm sorry, get another Dragon. They're going to be able to, they should be able to knock this down. They do have the Rift Herald. But
They're not going to get first, though.
Yep, going to get first turret, like you just said, and eStar at least are trying to accelerate the pace of this game and get some gold onto, not really their carries, actually their front line, which might be the better option.
I mean, yeah, when you consider the scaling, maybe getting the front line fed is actually for the best, ultimately. Jiumeng will be able to shove this Herald and maybe get a second charge. Not sure if he'll get away with that one. Either way, he's just going to clear the way for recall. And they'll take away whatever they can on the bottom side of this map. The second charge does go through in the end. So, good stuff from WE. They are still going to be ahead. When it comes to the gold, they're 500 up. They're even in towers. And most importantly, those 2 dragons have gone the way of WE.
One common factor about WE's comps throughout all 3 games, and just even throughout the regular season, is they're a lot more about finding pressure as a 4 or 5-man unit. ShiauC just landing a really good death sentence, but still, this haymaker was scary.
Yeah.
Did a ton of damage. They still walk away with the kill.
I did not think ShiauC was walking out of that one alive, I'm not going to lie. You know, ShiauC, we've consistently throughout this split complimented how good he is on this Thresh, and you can see it there with the flash max range death sentence. And you don't usually see flash followed by death sentence because it is inconsistent. It's hard to land, but
not reliable.
ShiauC making it happen. Oh, Morgan. The ward going to be denied here with the pink ward in the brush. Morgan doesn't have a tower, bear that in mind. So if somebody decides to roam up and help Cryin out, they would be able to catch Morgan out of position.
Going to be really interesting to see how this plays out, though, because WE are going to have mid control. So Cryin is not going to feel comfortable actually looking for any picks in the side lane.
Just going to be clearing these waves away and moving up towards the top side of the map. Still 5 plates available. 45 seconds until those plates will fall.
WE just feel like they're in a better position with eStar playing around their tanks.
This is the 4th mark for Beishang right here. The Gromp has the Kindred mark on it. And at 4 marks, Kindred gets a massive range buff for herself. So this is actually a really big pickup for Beishang.
And WE's carries will have more damage in the late game. Just the fact that their AD does make it a bit awkward, but still, picking up these marks consistently is going to be good. And it still feels like WE are controlling the pace of the game.
Yeah, kind of just trading with eStar right now, though. And interestingly, that bottom lane tower goes down, but it's Xiaobai and Wei that get all of that gold. So, again, they're getting a lot of these plates, they're getting a lot of gold, but it's kind of going onto the tanks more than the carries.
Which I still feel like might actually be the better answer when your carries will get outscaled in terms of damage, so having that beefier frontline with all the gold, making it hard for Kindred and Kalista to deal the damage will be nice.
Teacherma needs to be a little bit careful here. If he gets hooked, he will go down. The whole team of eStar with a really great rotation into this mid lane. Look how many plates were taken from both sides here. 2,000 gold for WE.
This takes me back to those lane swap days where you would just see a very uninteractive game for the first, 10 minutes.
And it's crazy because we saw a ton of action to start this game off. We saw so many kills. We saw, even outside of just the kills, we saw a lot of action. We saw a 2v2 in the bottom lane, for God's sake. Now, everybody's just decided to go full macro.
And we're going to have both objectives coming up around... Ooh.
Oh, Hook comes on through, missing. You're a monster. ShiauC falls.
And this pick means, once again, that WE can go and start that Rift Herald. And if they start it soon enough, then they even have time to turn towards the Dragon and potentially take both objectives. I would favor them in the Dragon fight as well.
Man, I love watching Blitzcrank, and you know what? I love watching Missing because he's just so damn good on this pick. Now onto the Herald, and as you say, it's a while until that Dragon spawns. Still 40 seconds. They'll easily be able to get down in time. The question to me is, will eStar fight them? Jiumeng actually using Fate's Call here to get Missing close. Missing trying to predict the flash, I think, onto Wing. Won't find the kill.
If eStar want to fight this, they need to find a flank for Cryin.
Oh, flash for the hook there from Teacherma. This is so... for Varus, Wink especially, this is such a hard game for him to dodge everything. Knockups across the team. Stopwatch comes out from Teacherma. He is going to be knocked up and finished off, though. Good pick here from eStar. What else can they find off of it? Morgan TP's way too far in. Showstopper to keep himself alive. Haymaker keeps him healthy. Lamb's Respite as well. The good teamwork here from the side of WE, but plenty of CC means Morgan goes down.
And I'm completely wrong. Cryin not needing that flank, just finding the pick onto Teacherma. Morgan's TP came out so late, though. They knew that pick was coming. And now eStar are the ones to get the Dragon.
You know, I've been the person, probably the most out of anyone, complimenting Morgan so far this split. I think he's had a really good season so far, but this game, Morgan is 0-4-0 right now.
Let's point out, though, that WE were the ones who split the map in half and pretty much said, hey, buddy, best of luck.
You're on your own, bud.
But here we see them going for this. So right now, WE already know they're looking for the engage. Morgan's still not channeling the TP. Still Teacherma getting caught out. Already used the flash to find that dredge line, so left him in a really awkward position. And, well, Morgan's TP, I don't know how much there is to say about that. Just kind of feels bad, man.
Yeah, and I mean, they left him out in the top lane when they split the map, and then they left him out in the mid lane when he teleports in as well.
He left himself out, honestly.
Fair enough, yeah. I'll give you that one. They went for the Lamb's Respite, so... You know what, Morgan, this is your fault. How dare you?
But Teacherma, the one to pay for that aggressive play in the mid lane, right? He went for the flash dredge line, took the risk, eStar punish it, eStar get the first Infernal Dragon, and if they can stack 4, doesn't even matter if you have a lethality Varus, he's still going to be hitting so hard. And
I was about to say, like, we've talked about scaling here, but ultimately, Infernal Drake kind of removes scaling from the game to some extent. If you're able to have control of those Infernals and get to the Infernal Soul, you kind of... You scale better by default just off of the Infernal damage alone.
I mean, if you're able to pick up 4, sure. 2, we'll see how it goes. I think WE's comp is comparable enough to where they'll win out.
I love how gently you told me I'm wrong there.
I'm not. Here in the LPL, we might have aggressive games. We're not here to be aggressive personalities.
I appreciate that, my friend. Missing is being aggressive, though. He's waiting. He's fishing for a hook. Won't be able to find anything. Is everybody on the side of eStar going to be resetting right now? And the gold, as we bridge the 15-minute mark, is once again just about dead even between these two teams. But it's been these fights around the 20 to 25-minute mark where WE have really clinched control of the game throughout this series.
And it's on completely different champions. We can see from this graphic, I'm sure this means that Xiaobai has a 2K gold advantage over Morgan. So on the other side, we know all the gold for WE has been on their mid and bot lane. So you have going to have very different dynamics if we eventually do get a straight up 5v5, which we haven't yet. kind of disappointing.
We haven't yet, no. And interestingly, the Iceborne Gauntlet coming out here from the side of Xiaobai, just recognizing he really doesn't need MR. He can just stack armor all day, every day, and he's going to be A-okay with that one. Does mean that the Ornn upgrade is slightly less efficient, though.
Slightly less efficient, but against WE's comp makes a lot of sense. Across the rest of the board, we do see just standard items coming out, and Beishang actually having to drop the Herald, not in a position where W can really take advantage.
Well, the Herald just going to be plonked in the mid lane here. And you'd expect that eStar probably just going to be able to clear this one up. And that's the issue with Herald as an objective, right? It's, oh, hang on, Wink could be in trouble. Ooh. Hook just about goes wide there. And actually, they're going to commit, but Fate's Call is going to deny a lot of the engage. Herald actually got the charge.
And I feel like that Call of the Forge God was way too premature coming from Xiaobai. Even with Rift Herald getting the charge, it doesn't matter too much. And with the map state as it stands now, converting that into any other objective would have been really hard. So WE just getting the most out of what they can.
But they might be able to just force a tower here. Cryin coming in from this side, but Teacherma's found a hook now. Ragnarok out of way. He's playing this Olaf beautifully. There's a depth charge. Cryin cannot escape the fight. Beautiful kill, and the tower goes down.
I just want to say, whatever your win conditions are, they don't mean anything if Blitzcrank can't hit that Q. You're going to get a pick. You're going to have numbers advantage. You're going to be able to turn wherever you want.
And you know what? Missing almost always hits the Q. This time it was Teacherma setting it up, missing there to follow up. And bear in mind that Cryin on this LeBlanc, yes, it's hard to get onto a LeBlanc generally. When you've got 2 hook champions, plus knockups, plus a silence from missing, there's just no way out.
Yeah, really hard for him to play this game. But you know what? You know what, Munch? 45 seconds, we have another dragon, which means we're going to have action.
Oh, yeah. And we're going to have missing trying to fish for these hooks once again. We need to see this front line of Xiaobai really coming into his own in this next fight, because he's got all of the gold for his team. He's the one that's super fed, but being super fed on an Ornn, how much is that really going to get you unless you're in these fights?
Right. We haven't seen a straight-up team fight yet, but we just see him continuously coming in on flanks. He needs to be the one tanking all the damage, giving room for Cryin to look for the picks.
Teacherma's going to be hooked here. Gets his dredge line off towards the wall. Call of the Forge God used. They want this fight right now. eStar going in, but they're just going to be on Morgan. Now they're pulled back onto Xiaobai. This is front to back, though. This is what eStar want from a fight.
Still, though, they used the Call of the Forge God way too early once again, and now everything is going to be on Cryin's shoulders to find this pick, but WE have a ward.
Yeah, bear in mind, but Jiumeng has the 2 items here on the Kalista, so we'll be able to dance around these fights and stack up that rent now on towards this Infernal Drake. Cryin over the wall. Wei is here to try and contest with the Smite, and he is going to be able to get it for himself. There's a Lantern. Cryin going to get a little bit of damage down. eStar trying to escape. Nicely done with the Bellows Breath from Xiaobai. And now the re-engage. Ethereal Chains doesn't quite grab onto Teacherma. It's just going to be the Dragon for the side of eStar.
Still great pickup coming from them, and once again, we know it's a team that likes to take it a bit slow around objectives. Cryin jumping in, way in a bit of a dicey scenario, but still ShiauC had the Lantern, and great W from Xiaobai, not making sure he doesn't get picked off, so WE not able to look for something like a Baron.
And it feels like this series we're seeing eStar dipping their toes in more chaotic objective fights, because we know this team loves to play it slow, loves to try and guarantee that they've got it before anything else. Way happy to go for these steals, though, and the rest of the team backing him up to make that happen.
One thing about WE's comp I want to point out, they can start a Baron, and they have great turn potential. Blitzcrank and Nautilus, so easy for them to turn off a Baron and get on you if you come close.
I love how they're going to start the Baron and Beishang isn't even there because they've got this Kalista. They don't actually need Beishang to be the one smiting because Rend will do the job.
Oh, and they don't even know.
eStar has not even considered this is a possibility just yet. They're only just starting to check. Rocket Grab not quite going to land. Baron's still very healthy, though, as Wei moves on in here. They've figured it out. And now time for the contest. Wei, the target here for the side of WE, but Beishang isn't into the pit just yet. Morgan's incredibly low. Call of the Forge God as Teacherma. He's going to be, able to flash out, actually, but knocked up now. He's all out of cooldowns, and he'll be the first one to go down. Kill for Wei. Showstopper into the team. Does a lot of damage, but 2 for the Olaf. And WE have to back away.
Yep, still not feeling comfortable to do the Baron with Beishang up, but That was actually pretty funny to see that WE start the Baron. I'm sure they were trying to force a turn scenario, but the fact that eStar took so long to come, it made them think, oh, hey, we can do this. Morgan got really low, Beishang wasn't there, so when eStar did come, they're just able to win the fight based off how low Morgan was, and you know, again, Beishang nowhere close.
And misses the rocket grab by a hair there. If that had hit, maybe it's a different scenario. And that's one of the downsides of Blitzcrank, because as you rightly say, scaling doesn't matter necessarily if you get picked, but if you miss the hooks, Blitzcrank is kind of just a large minion.
You are not a champion at all without that hook. So Teacherma walking up, trying to zone them away, does flash out, has some protocol to try and get away, and here's where we see them just pick off Teacherma. Seems like Morgan was trying to buy time for the rest of his team, does do that, but also ends up going down.
He did also show us something that could happen later in the game, because Xiaobai is going to have a lot of HP on this front line. If there's one thing Sett's good at, it's using that HP against you, because the tankier you are, the more HP you have, the more damage the Showstopper will do if you land on the rest of your squad.
Still, though, eStar having 2 Infernal Drakes right now, looking pretty good. Gold actually 100% even, which is a very interesting place we haven't been all series.
It's such a close one between these two teams, and I'm glad, because eStar, it feels like they're a little bit more comfortable around this point in the game. At least in this series, they haven't felt comfortable during the early game. They felt very much under pressure from the side of WE. But with Infernal Drake spawning in a minute and a half, this pressure will not let up just yet.
eStar want to start setting up the side lanes to push into WE. A slow push would be nice. You have stronger side laners at this point. No one from WE can match you. WE just continue to stay as this 5-man core and control vision. The fact that they're leaning topside means that eStar have to constantly be wary of them starting this Baron. It actually makes you wonder if they're going to try and look for a force before Dragon comes up.
They could try and make the force play. Bear in mind that they're clearing vision already. You can see Beishang just going to be doing that. Actually procced Baron with his Dance of Arrows there. And now eStar do have to respect this. They know that this is very much a possibility. With a Kindred and a Kalista, you can burn through the purple word.
Though eStar did get the bot lane push set up, so eventually someone from WE is going to have to go answer that. eStar just going to go clear out the vision from WE, but still, Dragon up in 25 seconds. This is where eStar need to look.
And WE already have the inside track on this one. eStar need to make their way over. Beishang just looking to try and zone them away for now, because this is very much doable for WE. Missing will try and find a hook. Banshees has come out, though, from Cryin, making it a little bit more difficult. WE looking like they want the fight right here. Just going to force away this mid-wave. Xiaobai wants a way in. Teacherma's happy to tank. Bellows Breath forced. Cryin actually loses his Banshees there as he goes on in. Now Wei trying to find an undertow to start this fight off. Jiumeng starts the Dragon.
Yeah, you always need to be wary of this Kalista with the objectives. On the side of WE, we're looking at Jiumeng, we're looking at Morgan, Cryin, and Wei for the side of eStars.
Wei wants to try and get this steal against Ornn. It's going to be hard. He gets it anyway. Beishang forced to use the Lamb's Respite as well. Now Morgan behind the rest of the team, but he can't really find a way in. There's a 3-man knock up. This searing charge sets them ablaze, and in the rest of eStar go. Looking for these kills. It's another one going down. Missing answers onto Wei, but ShiauC zoning everyone, hooking everyone, getting these kills, and Morgan forced away. The GA popped, and this will be Jiumeng falling.
Wei finds the crucial Dragon Steal, and Xiaobai gets the engage, keeping eStar in this game, right? We need to stress that right now, WE are match point. They're 2-0 up. All the pressure is on eStar, and eStar are delivering when it counts most.
And that was what we were saying wouldn't happen coming into this game. We were expecting eStar, the way they looked in game number 1 and game number 2, it felt like they were really feeling the pressure. It felt like they just weren't really sure how to respond to being in playoffs. But here in game 3, when it matters the most for them, they managed to turn it on.
And just shows how comfortable they feel switching over to this side, which they haven't played much at all this split, but getting a much more comfortable draft for them and playing around it quite well in a very weird way of setting up Xiaobai to become this large monster. But We already saw Wei steal the Baron. Baiting out the Lamb's Respite from Cryin is absolutely massive. And here we're going to just see Xiaobai find this beautiful engage after the flash. Does stun up enough members of WE to come out ahead.
And just beautifully done there. Jiumeng, you can see him stacking up the Rens, but he just doesn't have the damage to really make it happen. Sticks around too long and gets finished off as well.
And Xiaobai just hitting all of his E's, knocking up numerous members, just doing such a good job with the resources he got. Not a position we've seen Xiaobai in too many times this split.
Certainly not when he's on the Ornn. We've seen it a little bit with his Wukong.
I love that damage, though. Doing more than Cryin.
That's a lot of damage right there coming out from Xiaobai. Matching the rest of his team. Showstopper, though, and Wink is no more. Wink, and you miss it.
And now WE feel fine just turning towards this Baron. Might even just be able to get it straight up, but...
Honestly, I think they could just brute force at this point.
Yeah. And Xiaobai not here is going to need to TP in.
Cryin dashes away with the distortion, but with double AD carry and a hook onto Wei, the perfect target. He's forced away, uses his Ragnarok, now called to the Forge God. eStar trying to force the fight. Jiumeng is low in the back of the pit. Cryin wants to assassinate him, but the Lamb's Respite keeps him safe. Xiaobai in onto everyone. Jiumeng goes down to the Beller's Breath. He went outside of the ultimate, and this is going the way of eStar. Morgan trying to turn things around. Teacherma flashes away, finished off by Cryin. They're chasing the members down, and eStar are making it happen.
5v4 and eStar still finds the play. Missing doesn't find the hook, but great fight from Xiaobai. I love this. We look at WE's comp, we say that it's all AD. In theory, it scales better, but you put all your gold onto your tank. They're not able to kill him. He does tons of damage. eStar end up with both objectives, getting the last dragon and this Baron.
4 versus 5, no less. Wink not even a part of the play, but Cryin as well on this LeBlanc is playing so well. In the early game, both of his deaths were down to these double hooks. But since getting this Banshees, he's able to play around it so beautifully.
This game, once again, a lot slower. I'd say even slower than our last game in the way that both of these teams have been playing it out. But still, that's the pace that eStar like. We see Cryin going in there, bursting in the members. Good call. The Forge God coming from Xiaobai. And look how low Jiumeng gets. Puts a lot of pressure when Cryin jumps in. And they just don't do enough damage to Xiaobai. He can just walk in, deal all this damage, and he's still getting them all down low with the help from Mr. Baron.
Absolutely. And, you know, Xiaobai actually gets away with this one as well. Waddles out of the pit, keeps himself safe.
His Warmogs too, so he's going to heal back up pretty quickly.
And ultimately, Jiumeng jumped out of the Lamb's Respite before the heal came through. I think maybe he can actually finish off Xiaobai there if he just stays in the Lamb's Respite and then gets the Ren.
I love that. Xiaobai actually did as much damage as all the members of W combined, it looks like.
5,000 damage in a single fight from the tank.
It's literally the same damage as all of WE's team. It's absolutely amazing. But we're at soul point for eStar. They have Baron buffs. They can push out these waves. They can take this objective for free. Wei can do it by himself.
We said way earlier on in the game, the Infernal Soul is everything here, and eStar are on the cusp of grabbing it for themselves. In the meantime, Xiaobai can just push in the bottom lane. He's got a Baron buff. He's not needed by the rest of the team, but here we go. Could have a fight on our hands. Bear in mind, the hooks can always change everything. 2 seconds until this dragon spawns. Xiaobai's arrived. Hook goes wide from missing, and he takes a huge chunk of damage in return. Now Xiaobai, Call of the Forge God, brittle onto everyone, knock up onto everyone. Lamb's Respite comes out very early on. Everybody's still surviving, at least for now. But a GA coming on through keeps Wei alive. Xiaobai is so damn tanky, and he finishes off Jiumeng. This is beautiful from eStar, and Wink with a double.
And this is looking like eStar getting back into the series. They're going to be able... Oh, they're not even going to pick up Infernal Soul. Looks like they're just going to go for the end.
They're going to try and finish things off right here. They've got 30 seconds on 3 different members from WE. And they have a lot of damage from the likes of Cryin, from the likes of Wink as well. Teleport being channeled. First tower goes down and on towards this inhibitor. Missing, actually getting a pull in onto Cryin. Silence not going to do enough. The Ignite blocked by ShiauC's Lantern. ShiauC has... Oh my days, the damage onto Beishang. This is going to be game. eStar finish things off. Missing can't get the hook. It's ShiauC that finds him as the Nexus falls and eStar pushes to game 4.
We have a competitive series on our hand, which Wasn't what I was expecting coming into the day. Wasn't what I was expecting after the first 2 games. But I'm going to be selfish right now, Munch. I'm going to say bring us to Game 5.
Let's see the reverse sweep. Well, WE definitely don't want that to happen.
I was going to say,
let's not get too far ahead of ourselves.
Let's be unbiased. Whoever wins, whoever wins. Bring us to Game 5, though.
I want to see Game 5. I want to see more of this. And I want to see these team fights going toe-to-toe like this. But we have to bring it up. Teacherma has been a focus of this entire series so far. On the Nautilus during the laning phase, looked pretty good. Nautilus later on, though, didn't really have any impact in the game.
I mean, when you're playing Nautilus mid, it is a lot more about the early and mid game, getting that push and trying to set up these skirmishes. The great thing was eStar didn't really opt into these skirmishes, right? We saw pretty much a split map scenario that reminded us of a few years ago where one team is just constantly pushing top, the other team constantly on bot, and we got to a point where eStar were able to set up the side lane pressure. Xiaobai became an absolute monster that no one can kill, and the team fights consistently coming out in eStar's favor.
Yeah, and you know, that pure macro style definitely favors eStar when you look at how the two teams have played across the split, because even though we've seen a different style of WE here today than what we've seen in the regular season, it's still going to be WE's biggest strength to find a snowball, to look for fights, and to brawl their way to a victory. eStar holding them at arm's length the entire time and denying that win condition.
And as a team, it just came together quite well. We look at Xiaobai's damage being massive, Wei as well doing a great job, Wink and Cryin both being there. We saw ShiauC making a ton of aggressive plays. The flash under top tier 2 is the one that comes to mind. So glad to see all the members of eStar step up, and it goes to what you were saying before the game of their coach Lucky having so much experience makes you wonder how much of a helping hand he had in this, and all around, happy what we saw from eStar.
Absolutely, and you can see that they're kind of taking this game by game now, and that's exactly what you got to do in this situation. Bear in mind, they are still 2 games down at the end of the day. They lose one more, and they're out of the series. This is single elimination in playoffs as well, so there is no second life. There is no lower bracket. Once you're out, you're out. So eStar, they've got to try and keep this one going. So far, so good, though. Really great performance in game number 2. And my big question will be, first off, which side do we see these two teams on again? But secondly, how does the draft change going into game number 4? Because definitely feels like Teacherma had much better performances on different picks.
And going back to that side selection, if eStar end up getting forced on the red side again, what do they change up? Because you can't just do what you did in game 1 and 2. We saw it didn't work. They didn't look like the same team. And like you just pointed out, their backs against the wall. There is no room for error. If you make one draft mistake, you're pretty much out of playoffs.
We'll have to see if that will come to pass or whether eStar can keep this going for themselves. I'm hoping for 5 games. We'll see if eStar can